So from there, I do want to go to Rattler because there's a lot to like here. The first of which I have to point out, he's going to be the first guy to start for Lincoln Riley that he tapped out of high school. And that's a big deal for a lot of people as you're looking for things to pick on with Riley and his quarterbacks, which is to say that he's used somebody else's first choice to get what he wants. Now, you can spin that argument any way you want. You can spin it into he's better at taking what you have and making it better, or his system and his ability as a coach is just that much better than everybody else. But what I think is really interesting, beyond this being the first quarterback that he has actually tapped as the starting quarterback out of high school, it is that this is the first time we've seen Riley with his first choice at quarterback out of high school, right? Baker Mayfield was there when he got there. Kyler was coming out of A&M and his coach called up Riley, said, would you consider it? And he's like, get him to sign the financial agreement right now. Kendall, we thought was going to be that guy, never got a shot. Chris Robinson didn't even make it past, spring. And then we're looking at Rattler going, is he going to transfer? Is he going to stay committed? There was an A&M thing that popped up right before he was signing because that's what happens. And then there was, you bring in Jalen Hurts. Is that going to hold up Rattler? And then you have all of this ammo about, Riley's just going to go into the portal. That's what he's done the whole time. And he tried to put the kibosh on that real quick, saying, if I didn't like our room, I would already go get a dude. I would go get a grad transfer quarterback. But I like our room. Knowing all of that, and then knowing how the rest of the world believes in Riley and the 5-star status of Spencer Rattler, because he's got the second best Heisman odds of anybody in football now. Now, let's also add here, there are only 76 of a possible 129 FBS programs that are playing ball. But still, for him to have better odds than Ellinger, than Jamie Newman, who just opted out, than Mac Jones, who I think is best bet to lead Alabama to a national championship this year, speaks the world of what we all expect of him. So, let's talk about it. 10 games. Are you expecting him to pass for more than 3,000 yards in 10 games? Are you expecting him to put up more than 30 touchdowns in 10 games?
I would say yes on both accounts. And I'm not even really questioning the actual assumption of either the statistical accomplishments. Because, I think anyone who's been around the program would tell you that at some point in time, they've been told just how quote-unquote special Spencer Rattler has looked, whether it be in practice or bowl prep. Just the ins and outs are dying to tell you just how good Spencer Rattler is going to be. And then, of course, you see all the social media videos. I don't put much stock in those, but I know a lot of people do, because all you have to do is go look at those retweet and big numbers. But, for me, I think Spencer Rattler's going to have a lot on the table, and I think he's going to be able to accomplish whatever. Because I thought it was really interesting. There's a conversation between two guys who I really like to listen to and observe their work in Martin Simmons and Bud Elliott. And they basically touched on the fact that, okay, Spencer Rattler was the number one quarterback in the 2019 class. Well, he may have not been the number one quarterback in different cycles. But that being said, he may, in Barton's eyes specifically, be the most natural arm talent that Lincoln Riley has had enter his program. Now, I'm going to ride or die for Kyler Murray. I think that dude's my number one. But if this is the case, then I would have to assume that some of the statistical numbers we're going to see early on, even as a redshirt freshman, are going to be pretty bonkers ridiculous. And then he's only going to further his success from that point. Looking at this season, I think there are obviously some question marks when we talk about the skill positions. There's a veteran offensive line here. But when you really consider what's around Spencer and what you hear about him, I think it's pretty easy to say that this guy's going to be reaching some of those statistical numbers and maybe a few others en route to a pretty special season.
I think he's going to stumble a couple of times, and that would be the reason why I'm not necessarily going to put in front of him passing for 3,000 yards in 10 games, though I know that's the expectation, because his opener against Missouri State is going to be a good warm-up. You're going to beat them down. It shouldn't be close. You should feel good about yourself. You should probably go for over 300 and maybe get the hook, right, so that Mordecai can get in there and get some snaps. Then there's Kansas State. And the thing that I know about Kansas State is that they are very good at taking advantage of noobs. They're very good at tricking you into seeing something that isn't there. And as an example here, I'm going to look at Kenneth Murray Jr., first-round draft pick by the San Diego Chargers and the talisman for OU's defense last year. Came out looking the part after 2 years of development, became the dude that I thought he could become, and is running down De'Aaron King, who might be the fastest dude, not named Kyler Murray, that was playing football in 2018 at quarterback. And what they did with Kenneth Murray in the Kansas State game was trick him into bad reads, because he would see the guard pull, but the guard would fake pull, like shuffle step, and then he would go. And yet that guard would come back up, and then you run your lead counter. And I was floored, one, by the execution of the guard, because it's one thing to put that in, it's another thing to pull that off. And I'm going, wait a second. If they can make that sort of magic happen, they can make that sort of misread happen for a Kenneth Murray Jr. who has spent 2 years prior and basically up to 30 games playing big-time college football. What are they going to do to Spencer Rattler when it comes to playing with his safety looks, when it comes to playing with a linebacker that is faking a blitz and then dropping back to play 7 deep in coverage? Like, that's why I am really interested to see what he actually knows as opposed to what his talent is, because we're all floored by the talent. It's another thing to be able to diagnose the levels and to be able to keep up with the changing and rotating coverages that you're going to face. What is your sense there of how he's going to be able to manage that?
Yeah, so that's going to be the fascinating aspect of this. And I think you're right on here. And I would bring up my side of the argument being that he's going to reach the 3,000 yards or 30 touchdown mark purely because, I mean, he's going to have to if OU's going to win games this year. When you look at some of the running back depth issues, I feel like a lot's going to be on his shoulders, and I think he's going to reach those statistical marks because of what he's going to be asked to execute. But as a result, that's going to put him in those difficult positions that you're talking about. Is he going to be able to go out there and execute against some really underrated defensive coordinators who their whole life have basically trained to try and stop the pass? And I think you talk about Kansas State, the Iowa State, Texas, TCU gauntlet there will really tell us a lot about what Spencer Rattler can provide from a mental standpoint, because all three of those guys call in defense, and all three of those programs with the level of talent they have defensively are going to challenge him. And as a result, if he can get through those 3 games while showing us he is able to read coverages, go through his progression, and get the ball to the right guy, then, yeah, I will have a ton of confidence in the fact that he's going to be able to blow it up. But that being said, I mean, it's way easier to say that than to actually do. So I think he's going to be able to do some good things. I think, obviously, like you said, Missouri State, you can kind of throw that game out. But it's that Kansas State, Iowa State, Texas, TCU gauntlet, specifically against some of those defenses, that's really going to tell me how he's going to be able to handle himself in the pocket this year. I'm fascinated to watch it, but as a result, I think we're going to really learn what this guy's mental makeup is moving forward.